Yeah.
You want to like him, but you can't.
Are you listening?
What?
Are you listening?
Did you bring me on this show to insult me?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Hey, y'all don't want it with us, man. We straight gangsters over here,
Straight
man.
gangsters. Yeah, good morning and welcome back. You are listening to Scout Team Radio. We bring it to you hot and live each and every morning, Monday through Friday, right here on 12 Ounce Sports. I am one of your gracious hosts. They call me Loudbeard.
You are the most egotistical, self-deluded person I have ever met.
Okay, fair enough. And the man on the other microphone, he is a great American. He is a great patriot. You may know him as
America.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it is your boy, Chris America, coming to you live this Monday, November the 4th, 2019, Loudbeard, and it was a crazy sports weekend, if I can say so myself. We had some coaches being fired. We had some undefeated teams getting defeated. And we had some good football all around.
Yeah, and we had some winless teams finally getting a win.
That's right. I forgot
everything
about that. Yeah. Dolphins no longer on the endangered species list.
Yes, that's a good thing. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and do it. I think we should start out with the biggest news story of the entire weekend, and that would be your favorite coach, Willie Taggart.
Willie T. Slick Willie.
Slick Willie. The writing was on the wall, wasn't it, Chris America?
You don't want to wait to see if, we get a haunting first?
There is no way, after what his Packers did and what the Florida State Seminoles did, that Anthony Mack will get on this radio. There is a 100% chance of rain right now.
I thought he was going to come on and use this as his pulpit to say 4 more years. 4 more years.
Well, he says that anyway, but you're right.
Yeah.
There would be a good opportunity for him to jump in and say that. But I would say if we wait for him, we're going to be waiting a very long time because I don't think there's going to be a single haunting in this studio. And you know what? I am so positive about it that we're jumping into this because this is a big deal. Florida State, huge program, wins the national championship not that long ago, and man, have they fallen far from grace. 6 years ago with Jimbo Fisher. Jimbo's gone. They bring in Willie T, and he is now gone. Yeah, this program right now is a shambles, and I don't know really what to say, but I don't think this guy deserved 4 years, but I felt like they were a little quick on the trigger, but I really don't blame him at the same time. I don't know. What are your thoughts on this whole Willie T firing?
Well, since the man with the golden mic isn't on, I went ahead and went to his Twitter page, and just 3 hours ago, he tweets, what is he doing at 3 o'clock in the morning? Tweeting about FSU football. So he says he was quoting Willie Taggart. We'll see what Willie Taggart said first. So he's quoting Willie Taggart, and Willie Taggart said, "Obviously, I am disappointed in the decision today, as I believe our future is bright at Florida State. Building a program and a culture takes time, and I regret that I will not have the opportunity to continue to coach these incredible men." And then he goes on to thank the student athletes who deserve to find success. He wants to thank his coaches. Finally, he wants to thank Florida State, blah, blah, blah. We wish nothing but the best for Florida State. So typical, I got fired, but I shouldn't have been fired. But thank you guys. Thank you, everybody. I'm going to go out looking with class, which is great. Good for you, Willie T.
Well said. Well said. I mean, you can't say it much better than that. Very nice.
No. So then, man with the golden mic says, "This is a mistake that we won't recover from for years to come!" Exclamation point, by the way. That's why I said it like that.
You screamed.
FSU,
yeah, I like it.
At FSU football, at Seminoles, you just screwed yourself and program. No one will want to coach for a team that doesn't give a coach 2 seasons to improve. Hashtag Team Taggart. Hashtag FSU for life. Hashtag Twitter fingers.
Twitter fingers. That's an odd
I don't know what that one's about.
I've heard of jazz fingers. I've heard of
I've heard of
jazz hands. Spirit, there you
jazz
go.
hands,
Spirit
fingers.
Yep, there. I've heard
Never
of those. But
Twitter
Twitter
fingers.
finger? No, that's a unusual hashtag. Is that trending? Twitter fingers?
Let me click on it and see if he's the only one.
I'm pretty sure it's the only one. Oh.
Nope. Somebody named Breezy. Shout out to Twitter. A bitch finna have hashtag Twitter fingers now.
Woo! That's right. A bitch fitting to have them, including
Fitting
Anthony
to.
Mack, the man with the golden mic. Ah, wow. So just looking at Willie T's success or lack thereof here at Florida State, he's out. They lose to Miami. This is what prompts this. Miami being one of their big rivals. They lose 27-10. Big loss. They didn't really show any life in this one. They improved to a 4-5 record on the season. And Willie T's total record at Florida State is 9-12. Yeah, not very impressive.
Which I know I'm a Florida State hater and all, but that actually kind of surprised me. It felt like it was worse than that. It just felt like there were more than just 5 losses than wins.
Yeah, I mean,
I felt like when I was going to read his record, it was going to be something like 8-16. But obviously, he didn't have that much time to play that many games. But
yeah, but when you look at it, this was the other aspect that I'm pretty sure that weighed pretty heavy. Is last season they don't make a bowl game, and it was the first time in 36 years they didn't qualify for a bowl. They were 5-7, and it was I think the worst season record they've had since 1973. These are stats you don't want to have as a head coach in a program like Florida State. And when you've got boosters that put a ton of money into a program like this, their patience wears out very thin. And Willie T, he was on a thin rope or thin ice, whatever you want to call it. He was on that all year long, and they didn't really show any life this season. It was a little bit of a continuation from last year, and that's just not good enough in a program like Florida State. There are higher expectations there. You have to be able to perform, and he just didn't perform. That's the bottom line. The performance was not there.
yeah, their upcoming games were going to be Boston College, Alabama State, and Florida. So he had an opportunity to become bowl eligible. I think he would have been able to go 2-1 in that instance, but he also had an ability to go 1-2 as well. And so I guess Florida State said, even if he does get bowl eligible, we just don't think he's taking the program in the right direction. Our goal isn't to become bowl eligible. Our goal is to, like you said, win national titles, finish as the top 10 team, make New York 6 bowl games, compete for ACC championships, or at least contend for them every single year, and this ain't it. And I know a lot of people are saying, oh, no coaches want to come here. That's not true. You're still Florida State. You can still offer somebody lots of money. There is a price that you can send somebody's way and say, hey, I know we fired our last coach a year and a half, but here's $5 million, and we'll fully guarantee your contract. And somebody will say, oh, my contract's fully guaranteed? Then I don't care if you fire me in a year and a half. I'll take the job. So I don't believe in that whole, oh, this is going to scare away other coaches. No, it won't. If you give the right deal to the right guy, you'll get them to sign on the dotted line. What will scare coaches from coaching your team is a long period of time where there's just no success. You go through coach after coach after coach finding no success, and then guys will look at that program kind of like Tennessee, where you say, yeah, that's a nice job and all, but that was 10, 15, 20 years ago, and it's not a nice job now, so I don't want to take it because I can't win there. Florida State's not there yet, I don't think. Do you?
No, absolutely not. It would take, like you said, there would need to be a lot more history behind it. 20 years of not being successful, 15 years, not 3 years. That's not really what creates that culture. So it's going to take quite a while, and it's still going to be a glamorous job. There's still a lot of money that they have that they can use to pay a coach. So you're right on all fronts on this one. This isn't a doomsday device that Florida State has just done. This is, hey, we want another guy. And there's going to be another guy that steps up. Who that is, I have no idea, but there is going to be another guy.
Now, the man with the golden mic, he said, "Oh, this hurt our program for years." I don't think that's the case. But what could have happened is Willie Taggart could have driven this program down for the next 2 seasons and then left a program in shambles where even the best of coaches would take a lot of time to rebuild it, restructure it, and have it back to where it needs to be. And we've seen that before.
Yeah, I agree with you. This is sometimes it's better to move forward and pull the trigger right away,
right,
than it is to sit there and just deal with mediocrity and fall apart as you're going along. And really, truly, the cupboard is bare philosophy would be the case in point then, right? Like now you still have some talent.
Right, you have some talent. You've only been a season and a half of what Willie T's been doing. And he didn't really run the program even any worse than where Jimbo left it, because they were struggling to make a bowl game when Jimbo was there, but he also didn't do anything to improve it. And I'm not sure where they're at in recruiting, but they didn't do well recruiting last year. They didn't get a quarterback. They got 1 or 2 offensive linemen to sign for them. And so if you have another recruiting cycle like that for 2 more times, or you do finally get a quarterback, but it's just a 2-star guy or a 3-star guy that isn't really able to become that 5-star athlete like we see sometimes. But I think about what UCF did and how George O'Leary, longtime coach for UCF, had just come off of a successful season 2 seasons prior, goes over halfway through the season, and UCF just kind of said, you know what? We don't like the direction where this is going, and we don't want you to run this program into the ground any further, so we're going to get out while the getting's good. Thank you for all you did, George O'Leary. And that was the best move UCF could have made.
I agree.
If they would have kept George O'Leary for 2 or 3 more seasons, they might have been able to kind of struggle their way back, but I think George O'Leary did as much as he could at UCF, and I think at this point, Willie Taggart, I think this was the ceiling for Willie Taggart at FSU. I thought that this whole time. I thought that when they hired him. I thought that when Florida fans were calling for Willie Taggart, and I was like, I'm not impressed with this guy. He had 1 good season at USF, 1 or 2 good seasons at USF, and that's it. And we're supposed to hand him over the keys to this Ferrari, this luxury vehicle. And at no point in time did Willie Taggart ever prove me wrong.
Yeah, you're right. He jumped around too much. I mean, the USF, then Oregon, and it just was a little too much. So I don't know, man. This Florida State team's a total mess. But now they can rebuild. This is what happens. You have this really rickety old building that's falling apart. You level it, and you rebuild it up from the ground, and it looks more beautiful than ever. So Florida State has a chance here. This is a good golden opportunity. And they didn't wait till the end of the season. They can basically start looking for coaches now, right? Like they can go out and start figuring out who they want as a coach. So,
and that's perfect for them. They get the jump. And this is what Florida did 2 years ago. They fired Coach Mack right after the same weekend, right after Georgia-Florida weekend. This was Georgia-Florida weekend for us. And so beginning of November, you make that move then. You don't wait till the end of the season, because then you end up like Miami, where Miami, I mean, it wasn't their fault because Mark Richt just stepped down, but you don't want to be late to the coaching carousel game. You want to be the first in line, the first one that gets to go around and start talking to other head coaches. That's what you want to
do. It's true. It's true. Now, I've got a list here of possible coaching candidates. Sorry, we just got a tweet in from Jenny. Jenny of Ohio is a big Ravens fan, and I think she's probably sitting here wondering, why are you talking about Florida State so much? Why aren't we talking about Lamar Jackson and the Ravens? Don't worry, Jenny. It'll come. It will come. Thank you for tweeting in at us at Scout Team Radio. Any of our listeners out there can hit us up, and we'll talk about it. So this is a tweet I saw over the weekend that I thought was kind of interesting. It just said, I wonder which American Athletic Conference coach the Florida State Seminoles are going to start looking at. And I thought it was funny because it seems like these Power 5 programs do like to use that as kind of a training ground, if you will. Well, I'm looking at a list here of potential coaching candidates, and quite a few of them are from the American Athletic Conference. I'm going to throw a couple names at you, and you tell me if you think any of these are good potential candidates. Luke Fickell, who is the University of Cincinnati head coach, used to be the defensive coordinator for Urban Meyer over at Ohio State, but he's having a lot of success at Cincinnati. Do you think he would be a possible candidate for this Florida State job?
Okay, so I have to take my Gator hater hat off, right?
Yep.
I have to give like an actual opinion. Okay. Luke Fickell, you bring him up. I think he is an excellent candidate because now I'm trying to think of his name, the old Auburn coach. I'll figure it out. Tommy Tuberville, there it is. Tommy Tuberville went to Cincinnati, and he drove that program into the ground. He left that program in a mess, and Luke Fickell has done a fantastic job rebuilding that program. And so you're going to need a guy like that. You're going to need a guy who has that former experience. You can't just go out there and look for a guy who's gone from one winning program to another winning program and just continued the success that was there. That's not the job you're getting here at Florida State. You're getting a program that's been left in shambles, and you need a guy who has experience in rebuilding teams. So when it comes to Bob the Builder, Luke Fickell's your guy. Okay,
I like it. This guy, PJ Fleck, he is the head coach of the Minnesota Golden Gophers. He is right now sitting at 8-0 with this Minnesota program after 3 seasons. Would he be a potential candidate? He's kind of known as being a super charismatic coach that has really brought this program up to relevance.
Yeah, he's what Willie Taggart isn't, a rah-rah guy that actually has some winning success behind his belt. He was a winner at, I believe it was Western Michigan. I always get him confused with Central Michigan, but I'm pretty sure it was Western Michigan. And he was with the Broncos. He had a lot of success there, brought them to a New York Six Bowl game to play Wisconsin. And he's turned a Minnesota program. When was the last time you've ever heard the Minnesota Golden Gophers and 8-0 in the same sentence?
Well, in hockey, ice hockey, yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Not
never
in football.
So
No.
You got a guy who's taken 2 programs and he's built them in. Now, that's the kind of success that I want to see when Florida's going out and hiring a coach. That's the kind of success I want to see. I don't want to see a guy who did okay at Western Kentucky and then had like 2 winning seasons at USF when all the other teams, like Houston was down, Memphis was down, Cincinnati was down, UCF was down. So there was a lot of reasons why USF was good other than just USF was good. Like the American Conference was going through a sort of transition period at all their teams when USF was good. And then he goes over to Oregon and he was like, what, like 7-5, I think? 8-5, somewhere around there. So it wasn't like he blew the doors wide open at Oregon, and Oregon was just in a national championship game 2 years prior to him getting there. So I don't know,
better
man.
after he left.
Yeah. So what I'm getting at is this is the kind of pedigree you want to see. This is the guy that you can say, yeah, look, he took Western Kentucky or Western Michigan. He turned them into a winner. Then he went to Minnesota, and he built them up to where they are in this many seasons because I think he's only been there 2, maybe 3 years now. It's not been that long that he's been at Minnesota.
Yep. Now, I think it's 3 years. So still pretty good, pretty good. Now, next guy on this list, this one hurts me a little bit. And, I don't know the source of this article, but I do know that they're kind of just throwing out some coaching names. We've got quite a few on this list, but UCF's own Josh Heupel is on the list. Could the Seminoles stay in-state and pluck Josh Heupel from UCF just like Nebraska did with Scott Frost just a couple years back?
Well, see, now Josh Heupel is the other side where I said the winning guy just takes over a winning program. I like Josh Heupel a lot. There's a lot of his coaching decisions in some of those close games where I wasn't happy with it. I'm not going to lie. Like, abandoning the running game in the LSU game, never understood that. There's a lot of decisions he made during the Pitt game that I was just like, but that happens to coaches from time to time, right? You're not going to be 100% happy with every single play call your coach makes. I'm sure Alabama fans have said to Nick Saban, like, what are you doing here? Like, why did we do that? That was a dumb call, right?
Yep, it happens.
Now, I would be interested to see what Josh Heupel does because I believe that Scott Frost probably wouldn't have left if Florida came calling. I feel like he really just Nebraska was the only team he was going to leave for at that point in time. And I'm kind of wondering if Josh Heupel is that guy. If he's that same mentality of I'm not going to leave unless Oklahoma comes.
Yeah, you're probably right. There's got to be that one sweetheart program that's the only opportunity for him. I don't see him leaving for Florida State. That, to me, doesn't seem like a good career move, especially after seeing that Willie T only had a year and a half to be able to turn this program around? Yeah.
Again, it's going to take a nice contract from them with some guaranteed money, right?
Yeah, that's
a
what
big
I'm thinking.
buyout.
Here's another American athletic coach, Memphis's Mike Norvell. He's one of the hot coaching commodities right now. Do you think that this guy could be an opportunity for the Florida State Seminoles?
I mean, I think it would be a nice hire. It would be a good hire, but I can't think of what the Virginia Tech's coach's name, but they lured him away from Memphis, and I felt like he was the better coach than Norvell is at Memphis now.
Are you talking about Justin Fuente?
Yeah, Justin Fuente over there at Virginia Tech.
Well, that's funny. He's next on the list, Chris America.
Okay.
Foreshadowing.
Well, I would say no to Justin Fuente and maybe to Norvell because Fuente can't get it done at Virginia Tech. And when I watch the AFC East does this all the time where they hire coaches from other AFC East teams that weren't successful, that were fired. And I always wonder, like, why are you hiring a guy that you know can't win in your division? So why would you hire a guy that you know can't win in the Athletic Coastal Conference? It makes no sense. So I don't like either of those hires. I mean, I would like it if they come and fail. So, yeah, actually hire them.
Yeah, there you go. And I'll just throw out a couple other names on this list, and I think some of these are a little far-fetched. Lane Kiffin, Urban Meyer, Matt Rule from Baylor, who's actually doing a really great job. Bob Stoops from the XFL. No, that's not happening. Sorry. And then Brent Venables from Clemson. You've got some interesting coach options here. I think this is one of those articles that's like, let's just pick, 10 of the hottest coaches out there and let's see if we can put it into an article. But,
I have a
Florida
couple of
State's
names I have a couple of names I'd like to see them hire.
Okay, let's hear it.
What about Chad Morris over at Arkansas? I'd love to see Chad Morris go and take his brand of football that he's got going on at Arkansas, and I'd like to see them hire him.
That would be a great choice. He's been such a hot coach. He started out at SMU, had some success, and then jumped over to Arkansas. And what he's doing over there, we'll just call it lights out.
And then I'd like to see them hire, maybe Dan Curley over there at UConn. He's got UConn 0-5 in conference, 2-7 overall. That's right up their alley.
Yeah, they would follow the Florida State tradition.
Yeah. And then last but not least, good old Coach Mack. Would love to see Coach Mack come and ruin FSU football like he ruined Florida football. And
are you talking about Coach Anthony Mack?
Well, no, I'm talking about Coach McElwiener, Mack Attack.
Okay.
Like to see them hire him. I mean, Anthony was big on Florida keeping him, so I think Anthony would love that hire because he thought that McElwain was about to turn it around at Florida, so that should be his number one guy, right? I mean, you remember how passionately he said that Florida should have fired him?
Yeah, that would be quite the hire there, Coach McElwain. I like it. That's a good choice.
All right, Loudbeard, so should we get to the NFL now? I'm sure Ginny of Ohio has tuned out. We didn't want to prematurely come to that story, and so we're here now.
You heard that too. Let's go NFL. I think it'll be a little before the break, and I'm sure we'll bleed over some NFL after the break. But this is for you, Ginny of Ohio. If you're still listening in, let's talk about those Ravens. Lamar Jackson, he does the unthinkable last night. He defeats Tom Brady and the Goliath known as the New England Patriots. He ruins their perfect season bid, and he does it with ease. Lamar Jackson had a fantastic night, and this Baltimore Ravens team, they showed what they had in the big spotlight of Sunday Night Football. Man, congratulations to them. A big 37-20 win. This Lamar Jackson guy, he's for real. He is absolutely for real.
Yeah, he And the funny part is about this win, and I'm sure, the Patriots aren't really hung over on it because they've won a Super Bowl with their guy Tom Brady, but the Ravens traded the first round pick with the New England Patriots to come up into the draft and draft Lamar Jackson. The Patriots had the pick, and they gave it away to the Ravens, and that's what the Ravens used it on. I think New England would love to have Lamar Jackson as their heir apparent. I'm sure Lamar Jackson's glad that he's with the Ravens and he's playing now and not sitting behind Tom Brady, but there's 30 other teams, Loudbeard, that could probably kick themselves right now. Maybe not 30, but like 22 to 25 teams that are kicking themselves right now.
Yeah, I mean, this guy, it's unbelievable sometimes how the draft shakes out. We've talked in the past about how Mitchell Trubisky was picked ahead of Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes. Like, how do things like that happen? That should not have happened at all. Same thing with Lamar Jackson. We saw how good he was in college, and the problem is a running quarterback gets a little bit of a stigma about, they're going to be injury prone or he can't throw the ball, or the old classic, he's just a running back. Yeah, no, this guy is a baller. He goes out there and he puts it out on the field every game and shows how electric he is. It's like watching Mike Vick almost, like very much that electricity that you really can't replicate. There's something special about this guy, and I compare him to Mike Vick, but I think he's better than Michael Vick. And if you remember Michael Vick when he just first came into the league, I mean, there was nobody as athletic as that dude. And I kind of feel the same way with Lamar Jackson. He's something special. There's something special about Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, there was one point where he was the offensive line just didn't hold their blocks well right away, and he got surrounded by like one or two guys. He just kind of made a shifty move here, shifty move there, and next thing you know, he's free, and he's running for 10, 15 yards.
Yeah, like with ease.
Yeah.
He just it's crazy.
And then just like running out of bounds and going on to the next play. Now, this is what Patriot haters have been clamoring on about for the last eight or 9 weeks. Oh, New England hasn't played anybody. Their defense looks great, but the offensive they've played have been just terrible trash. And the Ravens definitely proved that point. There was no point in time where that Ravens offense was slowed down at all by this New England defense.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that. I looked at it, and they were saying going into this game, the New England Patriots had averaged their opponents to 8 points per game. I mean, that's an incredible stat. I think they had at one point scored more touchdowns as a defensive unit with pick sixes than they've allowed touchdowns. That was crazy, but yeah, the Baltimore Ravens blew that up in one game, and they showed that this defense really hadn't been tested. And I think one of the keys is that defense hadn't faced a running quarterback that was that mobile yet. And that was the challenge. When you have these pocket quarterbacks, you can game plan a little bit easier as a defense. But when you have a mobile quarterback, you kind of have to be ready for anything. And Lamar Jackson, he's a magician. He makes stuff happen that you don't think could happen. Very Patrick Mahomes-esque. And you just sit there and you shake your head and you scratch your head and you just wonder, what else can I do to help stop this guy? And last night, New England did not have an answer.
Yeah, you look at their schedule for the Patriots, and it's been the Steelers, the Dolphins, the Jets twice, your Redskins, Bills, Giants, and Browns. So we're not talking about the who's of offenses here. Now they got the Eagles up next. Do you think the Eagles are in a position to do anything against this Patriot defense? Obviously, they don't have a Lamar Jackson like they do, but could they exploit this Patriots defense, kind of use the blueprint that the Ravens set out?
Yeah, I did not realize that the Patriots' first half of their season schedule was that bad. I mean, I knew the Dolphins and Jets were sprinkled in there, but looking back, the Redskins, we know what they are, and that's not very good. The Cleveland Browns, preseason, were Super Bowl favorites. Now,
they can't even beat the Broncos.
Can't even. Oh man, I have that on my notes here. We got to talk about the Browns a little bit coming after this break because what the hell has happened to this Browns team. But I digress. Going back to the Patriots. Yeah, the Patriots, this defense, they're good, but they really haven't played anybody. And with the Eagles coming up, the Eagles might be able to exploit them. They probably got a little bit of a idea of how to do that. Yeah, they don't have the running quarterback like Lamar Jackson, but Carson Wentz is a guy that can make some plays, and I think it'll be a pretty good matchup. The Patriots need to be tested again.
Well, Loudbeard, I got to say something. You ever been, maybe you're not like a all-time distant fan of this team, but from time to time you'll see an NFL team that comes up, or even a college football team that comes up, and from a distance you're like, this team is really fun to watch. I like watching them, right? Do you have those teams from time to time just kind of come up?
Absolutely. Yep.
The Kansas City last year was that for me. The Ravens team back in the day when they were good and they had that solid defense, the Ravens flock, and they just had so much swagger. Their uniforms look cool with, Ed Reed and Lewis and all of those other guys, and they just had so much swagger. That's what I saw last night watching this Ravens team. Really for the first time this season, I got a chance to sit down and just actually relax and watch them play. And I just noticed that there was that old Ravens swagger. The defense was just flying to the ball. They played with so much confidence. And then, we already mentioned the offense. Like Lamar Jackson, I think that's what he's done for that program, more than just running around and throwing the football, but he's just brought that energy back to that team that over the last 6 years just has not had in Joe Flacco.
Oh, the Ravens Flacco. Yeah, I agree with you. Flacco wasn't the answer. He had the one magical season, but he didn't have that same I said electricity that Lamar Jackson has, that swagger, that pizzazz, that whatever you call it, the fireworks that are going off. You're right. This Ravens team has it. But last night or yesterday, there was a team that had been hot going into this football Sunday that had fireworks, that had pizzazz, that was straight up stonewalled. And I'm going to tell you who that is after a quick commercial break. Hey, Kawhi, what are you laughing at, man? This isn't funny. Fantasy sports reimagined. FanDuel, that's what I'm talking about. It is more than just fantasy sports. It's the best way to watch the games, win real cash, and bring the action right to your living room. Just choose a contest, make your picks, watch, and win. And if you go to FanDuel.com/STR today, you can get a $5 deposit bonus. Once again, that's FanDuel.com/STR. Come on, man. This is not a laughing matter. If you've been listening to Scout Team Radio for a long time, you know that myself, Loudbeard, has placed a bet or two in his day. That's right, I've lost the beard bet, I lost the romper bet, but one place I don't like losing is when I bet money, and I can easily do that at MyBookie. That's right, you can go to mybookie.ag, use promo code 12OZSports, and get a 100% deposit bonus up to $1,000. Hey, guess what? That is a lot of money. Do it.
When I'm working hard, I build up a thirst for sports. That's when I grab a cold 12-ounce sports radio. 12-ounce sports radio. Quench your sports thirst. Hey everybody, it's your favorite Patriot, Chris America, and I want you to listen every single weekday, Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 7 a.m., and on replays from 11 a.m. to noon of Scout Team Sports. Listen, George Washington did not cross over the ocean blue in 1492 to defeat the Nazis, so you can listen to the same tired national clickbait sports stories. So once again, tune into us every single morning, 6 a.m. to 7 a.m., and then we replay from 11 to noon. I will see you there, and God bless America.
Yeah, welcome back. We appreciate y'all listening in. Once again, we're Scout Team Radio. We're here each and every morning live, Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. This is 12-Ounce Sports Radio you're listening to. So we're Scout Team Radio. You're listening on 12-Ounce Sports Radio. And if you can't catch us live, you can always go and hit us up on that podcast. You can go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, anywhere you find a podcast, and you can just search Scout Team Radio, and you'll find it. Each and every episode we record and drop daily. We also want to get interactive with you. Make sure you're hitting us up on Twitter. We've had some fun tweets coming in so far. We've got Jenny of Ohio tweeting in about her Ravens, which she has every right to tweet in about them because guess what? Those Ravens, man, they look absolutely amazing. And everybody else, hit us up. All the listeners out there, we appreciate you. And if you want to get interactive, if you want a topic to talk about, hit us up on Twitter at Scout Team Radio. We'll read your tweet on the air. Well, before the commercial break, I was teasing there is a team out there other than the Ravens who have that swagger. There's another team that had a little bit of swagger. They were going into yesterday pretty confident. They had looked like they were on top of the world, 4-game winning streak. Their quarterback, one of the biggest names in the NFL, was an absolute beast going into yesterday. But for some reason, the curse of Anthony Mack struck again, and the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers were absolutely stonewalled yesterday. And again, another team that may have been a little overrated. What do you think, Chris America?
Well, first of all, Loudbeard, I think you should give yourself a genius because you're the one that said that the Chargers are not in an endless nightmare, that this is just a bad dream they'll wake up from, and there's no better way to wake up from your bad dream, starting off 3-5, than a good old win against the Green Bay Packers. And not just any old win, a blowout win. Like, this was not even close.
Oh, man. And I was watching a little bit of this game. They had Ingram and Bosa rushing the quarterback. Aaron Rodgers, there was plays where he had less than like a quarter of a second before he gets sacked. I mean, they were just giving him pressure all day. He had no room. He had no opportunities. And when he did, he wasn't on target. I think they knocked him off of his game. And that defense, they deserve all the credit in the world for that win. And the offense came around and scored plenty of touchdowns and whatever they needed to do. Phillip Rivers looked pretty good in this win. I think they left a few points on the board. They had to settle for a few field goals early. So this could have been even worse than it was if the Chargers had it going on the entire time. But overall, I'm with you. I have to give myself a genius. I have to, because I was sitting there thinking the same thing when I was kind of looking back. I'm like, wow, I was right. Doesn't happen all the time. Trust me. I wish it happened a little bit more.
How the hell do you know that?
I don't know how I know it.
Because I'm a genius.
Oh, that's right. I'm a genius. And that's what happened to me, is because I knew that these Chargers, they had some fight left in them. And they're getting better. Melvin Gordon looking good running. It's going to be a good team. It's going to be a good team. And should the Packers be worried?
I think so, because they have a good enough team to make the playoffs. They have a good enough team to maybe even win their division. But I'm going to go ahead and give myself a genius because the Chargers made me look like a genius with their Bosa brother. I had mentioned last week that with the 49ers defensive line and that defensive front seven and the Bosa brother that they have, they would just tear up that Green Bay Packers offense, and Aaron Rodgers would struggle against that defensive line. Well, here come the Chargers with their own Bosa brother, the older one, and they do exactly what I said that the 49ers would do. They made Aaron Rodgers look pedestrian. I mean, 23 completions, 161 yards, 1 touchdown, and only 11 points. Ladbird, they'd only scored 3 points through 3 quarters, and that 3 points came in the third quarter. So that Packers offense, if they go against a good defense, we talked about the Patriots offense the Patriots defense not seeing that many good offenses. I haven't really looked at Green Bay's schedule, but it seems like when the Packers play a good defense like the Chargers and the Bears, they're just another team.
Yeah, I agree with that, because week 1, when they played the Bears, I mean, other than the Bears just not having any offense, I mean, the Packers had no offense against that Bears defense. So I'm not sold on the Packers. I think they've got a long way to go. Their record is better than they actually are, and we'll see how it plays out because we've got a lot of the season left. But yesterday was kind of a tell for me. That showed me what the Packers were really about.
Yeah, it should be interesting to watch them going forward as, they got my Panthers next week. So that's a big game for us, a big challenge for our defense to see if they can come in and take it to Aaron Rodgers. We were big winners, but that was against Tennessee. And then they got the 49ers the week after. So a rough 2 weeks ahead of the Packers.
Yeah, big time. Well, I am going to jump on your Panthers train. I know that's your team, but I'm going to jump on this because
Choo-choo.
Yeah,
There's enough room.
It was a game I watched quite a bit of, and we got to keep on this McCaffrey train. McCaffrey, 146 yards rushing, 20 yards receiving, 3 total touchdowns. The entire stadium's chanting MVP as he scores each of these touchdowns. The guy is an animal, and your Panthers move to 5-3, and that is without Cam Newton, who looks like he's going to be out at least a few more weeks and may even be thrown onto the IR. So this Panthers team, without their big-time quarterback, has looked amazing, and it's been because of one guy, and that's Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, I was trying to find the tweet I saw earlier. I wish I would have retweeted it. I guess I didn't. But they asked one of our defensive linemen, McCoy, who he thought if Christian McCaffrey or Aaron Rodgers should be MVP, and he just looked at the guy and he's like, "Dude, one guy's on my team and the other guy isn't. What kind of question is that? Like, who do you think I think the MVP is?" And then he just walked away. He's like, "That's your question to me?" And then he goes, "God bless you, sir," and then walks away.
That's awesome. And
yeah,
thinking about that, why would even it be Aaron Rodgers over Christian McCaffrey anyway?
I don't know if he just didn't. I just don't know if the guy didn't see how bad of a game, the Chargers have had. Oh, yeah, here it is. Hold on. Let me see if I can pull it up. Yeah, I guess he didn't see, because Aaron Rodgers was having a phenomenal season until yesterday. So this was after the Panthers game, so maybe he hadn't really seen what the Chargers had done. But here we go.
You really asking me that? To argue one over the other, what would it be? You really asking me that? I am asking you that. I want to know. One is on my team, and the other one's on another team, and you asking me who I think is the MVP. Curious. God bless you, man.
God bless you,
Loudbeard,
man.
are journalists just getting dumber and dumber?
Yeah. There's no thinking for themselves. They just say stupid questions and hope for a stupid reaction.
You and I
that's
went.
The problem is the reaction.
Yeah, you and I went into a press conference before, and I remember sitting there thinking, I'm not asking a question unless I have a good one.
Yeah, and that's the problem. We want a hot take, right? They're hoping that all of a sudden he throws his own teammate under the bus and says Aaron Rodgers, and then it becomes a headline. Gerald McCoy has
Or he says something like Christian McCaffrey's way better than Aaron Rodgers, and now we can say like, oh, McCoy just trashed Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, that's terrible, man. That's awful journalism. But you know what? Christian McCaffrey, he knows. Gerald McCoy knows. McCaffrey is the real deal. He's also helping my fantasy football team out. That's, neither here nor there.
Yeah. And I'm glad that the players and the coaches are just they're kind of over it now. They're like, no, that's your question? Like, come on, man. I'm out of here. If that's it, then I'm out. And then media members are like, oh, they're just doing their job. Like, no, like, do your job better, right? Just do your job better.
It sounds easy to say, but they still struggle with it.
I don't know what it is, man. Everybody's, like you said, everybody's trying to get that hot take, trying to make a name for themselves. And I think we just got to stop clicking those stories. Stop giving them the reasons to go after those questions.
I agree.
Like, the better way to ask that question is just say, like, you think Christian McCaffrey's played at MVP level, or what have you seen from Christian McCaffrey that tells you he's an MVP player, or just something like that. Like, talk to me about Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, but then you don't get the clickbait. That's what they're trying for.
But I'd rather hear
the clickbait world.
I'd rather read the story about McCoy just gushing over his running back and saying what it's like to watch from the sidelines and saying what it's like to see him at practice. And that to me is what I want to read, not some like, oh, I think Christian McCaffrey's way better than Aaron Rodgers. I get nothing out of that.
Yeah, I agree with you. And Christian McCaffrey, to me, is leading the MVP race. And I wouldn't say Aaron Rodgers is the next guy in line. There is one other guy in the NFL that I think is maybe following suit and sitting right there with Christian McCaffrey. And I got to give it to Russell Wilson, man. Russell Wilson yesterday, 378 yards, 5 TDs, and brings his team back to an overtime win when his kicker missed 3 field goals in that game, including a game winner, and Russell Wilson in overtime still wins it by scoring a touchdown because he had no faith in his kicker at that point. But gosh, Russell Wilson, he's unbelievable too.
Yeah, I was catching the end of that game, and just one, I was surprised that they were in overtime with the score that they had. Did not see that coming, but the Tampa Bay Buccaneers team is a team they're a losing team. You know, they're not a good football team, but they just seem to always hang around in games that they shouldn't be hanging around in, and then they lose games that they shouldn't lose. But yeah, I agree with you on Russell Wilson. He's been phenomenal. He's been electric, but this is Christian McCaffrey's year, man. He is the offense of the Carolina Panthers. Cam Newton's gone down. He, as a running back, to put a team on your back at that position is very difficult to do, and he's done just that, man.
I completely agree with you. And Russell Wilson, he has a few weapons around him. There's one thing I did pick up in this game, and I'm going to give myself an idiot sandwich right now, Chris America.
An idiot sandwich.
I got to do an idiot sandwich because during the NFL draft, I was sitting here saying, there's no way a team's going to go after a wide receiver because of a picture with him at the gym with his shirt off, making him look like he's Hercules. And that's the only reason this guy flew up the draft boards. But I watched this game yesterday, and DK Metcalf is a hell of a wide receiver. He is a hell of a wide receiver. I was wrong. I thought it was all about the hype with the shirt being off, and that's why he got drafted so high. No, he is one hell of a wide receiver, had a hell of a game yesterday, and the dude's for real. So I should never have said anything bad about DK Metcalf.
I want to slow down. I just don't make that idiot sandwich just yet, buddy. I mean, he had a great game yesterday, but it is against the Buccaneers. If you look at his season stats, man, that's his only game over 100 yards receiving. I mean, he has 5 touchdowns, which is pretty impressive for a wide receiver, but he has a ton of games where he's only got 1 or 2 catches, 3 catches. Yesterday was his most. He had 6 catches. Slow down. Let's see what he does the rest of the season before we say, like, this guy is, the next Odell Beckham Jr.
Okay, I can live with that.
Definitely don't put him on your fantasy team. I'll tell you that right now. Do not put this guy on your fantasy team because of what Loudbeard just said.
But I look at Wookie. Rookie wide receivers or Wookiees.
Yeah.
Wookie wide receivers.
Wookiees. Always going to look at the Wookiees. Wookiees are better tight ends, though, I think.
Okay.
You want a Wookiee as your tight end. Like I feel like Chewbacca would be like a good Greg Olsen type.
Oh yeah. Chewbacca? I'd pick him first round. And but no, what I'm saying with DK is rookie wide receivers, it's hard to come in and make a huge splash. And he's coming in and he's doing some good work. I want to give him credit. As a first round wide receiver, there's a lot of guys that end up being busts. And, the future's still not written for this guy, but so far I'm seeing like a good progression with his development. And yesterday was a great game for him. Yes, it was his best game of the season, but like you said, he's got 5 touchdowns. He may not be lighting it up every game with 100 yards every game, but again, I mean, we're only 8-9 games into his rookie year. So 5 touchdowns. Let's say he finishes the year out with 7 or 8 touchdowns and, 800 yards. That's a pretty solid,
that's a solid rookie
year.
season, yeah.
Yeah, and that's probably where he'll end up, realistically.
Yeah, 525 yards halfway through. So, I mean, I guess that could, if he doubles that production, he'll be at 1,000, which will be a pretty solid season.
Yeah. Now we've got some Twitter stuff coming on here, and we haven't talked about it, but I want to just read a couple of these. Greenwell, this is from the Real Mon with Golden Mike, whatever that means. Green Bay will get back first-year coach. I'm wanting I'm waiting for year 3 to root for the Super Bowl run. Okay, that's weird. Somebody said that. Cam Newton is done in Carolina. Do you agree with that?
I mean, I guess. I don't know. Like, Cam Newton hasn't been a story in like 5 or 6 weeks. Why are we talking about Cam Newton right now?
Because the real man with the golden mic wants to know. Lastly,
all right.
This is Memphis Spence tweeting in. Hey, Memphis Spence, haven't talked to you in a while. Glad to see you tweeting in. He said, who is the most surprising, good or bad NFL team at this point in the season? That is a great question. Chris and Mary, you think about yours for 1 second, but I have to go San Francisco. I would not have put any money on San Francisco going undefeated, but I could have been a millionaire if I would have predicted it. That is the biggest surprise of the good. And as far as the bad, I did not expect the Cleveland Browns to be as bad as they are. Those are my good and bad.
You're good and bad. I was going to say the 49ers, but since you went the 49ers, I'm going to say
all
the
your good ones.
The good is the Indianapolis Colts. When Andrew Luck says, I'm hanging him up, I thought the Colts would have said, we're hanging it up too, but they haven't. They're second in their division. They're 5-3. The only reason why they're second is because the Texans have played one more game. They're 6-3, which also kind of surprises me. Not because of the players, but because of the coach. He's always under-coached his talent. But yeah, the Colts being 5-3 right now, going into the second half of the season, is definitely surprising. The bad, I mean, I would have agreed with the Browns. The Browns pick. Let me look at the other. I'm going to go with your Chargers. I did not expect the Chargers to be 4-5.
Okay.
Did not expect your Chargers to be 4-5. I didn't think they would be Super Bowl contenders, but 4-5, no, I didn't see that coming. I'm looking at the other bad teams. No, I changed my mind. The Bears. The Bears being 3-5 have to be the most surprising out of all the bad teams. They're on a 4-game losing streak right now. They're 3-5. It seems like this team has no direction whatsoever. The fact that they're below the Detroit Lions in their division should tell you everything.
Yeah, that's a telltale sign right there. And then with the Colts, that was a good choice there. But did you see what happened? Jacoby Brissett goes out with injury, and Brian Hoyer had to lead this team to victory. Brian Hoyer.
Brian Hoyer? Did you say Brian Hoyer?
Brian Hoyer.
Man,
wow.
I didn't even know he was still in the NFL.
Neither did the Colts fans. It's bad news. Bad news for them. So those were some great tweets coming in. I also would throw in for the good, I would throw in the Ravens. I thought the Ravens would be a good team, but I didn't think they would be this good. And I like Lamar Jackson. He did have a nice run at the end of last season, and he's just continued that. So, yeah, the Ravens being this good and upsetting those Patriots, that would be where I'm at this point in the season with the good. So one other thing with the NFL I just want to throw at you, Chris America. So the Seahawks, they pick up Josh Gordon. So Josh Gordon released from the Patriots. Seahawks pick him up, but there was a rumor out there that Russell Wilson was actually pushing the Seahawks to pick up Antonio Brown instead of Josh Gordon. Talk about the Russian roulette when you have to make a choice between Antonio Brown and Josh Gordon, huh?
Yeah, it's kind of like a win-win, lose-lose type situation, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, that's where it comes into play, where you say, all right, this kid's an exceptional talent for both of these guys, but are they worth the risk? And if you ask the two teams that picked him up, they said no.
Yeah, it's true. And I would say the Seahawks right now, I mean, they're looking good. And if you just add one more weapon for Russell Wilson, that could be a dangerous offense. They're already, pretty formidable as it is. So they're looking at, okay, what can we add? But I would have to say, as just football, I'm not talking off the field shenanigans, just football. Right now, I would pick AB. I think Antonio Brown is a better wide receiver. Josh Gordon was great, but he's had so many issues. And I even with Tom Brady throwing to him, it just didn't seem like he was ever that good. I think he's lost his magic, right? It just too much of a mess, too much time out of football. To me, Antonio Brown's the guy that could go in and still, in the second half of the season, put up huge stats. I guess the only concern there is, if there was going to be a suspension for some of his off the field shenanigans. But I don't know. I don't know what the story looks like.
I wanted to go back to your Seahawks team and say that I think the one thing that the Seahawks have been really missing is beast mode, is that type of running game that he brought. And it's why I get annoyed when people say, like, oh, running backs are a dime a dozen, and you can just pick up a running back off the street. Like, no, you really can't. We say that, and I feel like we've said it so much that we believe it to be true. But, man, if you've ever owned a bad running back on your fantasy football team, then you know that they're not a dime a dozen, that they're not just that the running backs that are going to get you 100 yards and a touchdown a game just don't grow on trees anymore. And you see that in the Seahawks offense. I think that they're really missing beast mode. I think if they had a beast mode type running back right now, that they would get that offense that you're talking about, that electric offense.
I 100% agree with you. I think that running back position, it's valuable. Now, is it devalued from where it was 10, 15 years ago? Maybe. But look at your Panthers. Christian McCaffrey. He's like over 50% of your offense. Yeah, he can receive, which is now a skill that most running backs have to be good receivers also. But, yeah, that guy is – you can't replace him. You can't say that Christian McCaffrey's a dime a dozen. When the Seahawks were going to Super Bowls, that beast mode, you couldn't replace him. There wasn't another guy that could do what he could do. I look at that with Adrian Peterson. On that Vikings team, when they were making a run, when they had Brett Favre, that Adrian Peterson, man, he was unstoppable.
Yeah.
These guys are, if you get the right one that can really make a difference, it's just like quarterbacks. There's that elite 2 or 3 in the league each year, and then there's everybody else. And so, yeah, when you say a dime a dozen, I get it. If you're talking about Ryan Tannehill's and Marcus Mariota's and all that, you could say that the same thing with quarterbacks. They are kind of a dime a dozen, but when you're talking about it with running backs, when you get one of those 1 or 2 top elite guys, there's nothing better.
Right, and when you have that top elite guy, your offense just becomes lifted up that much more. Because you look at Chris Carson's stats, like he's not a bad running back. He's got some good numbers. He's got 764 yards on the season, 4.4 yards a carry. I mean, those are good numbers, but you're looking at 3 touchdowns. And do you believe that Chris Carson's a guy that can wear down a defense and, is good for breaking out a run, every so often? I mean, I look at the Rams offense as a perfect example. When Gurley is Todd Gurley, that offense is unstoppable. They're one of the scariest offenses in the entire NFL. When Todd Gurley is just okay or below average, that offense becomes very predictable, and it's not very hard for defenses to hone in on what they're doing.
Yeah, and you know what else is unpredictable? Me looking down at the clock and it's saying 6:57.
6:57, yeah.
Damn, 6:58 now.
I mean, you think we would have been thrown off with the sun being up by now?
I'm out of sorts right now.
All right, I'm out of here.